Hello, everybody, and welcome back to At the Movies with William Fletcher. As usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and this week I am joined once again by Rowan,
Hello.
and I'm also joined by Matt.
What's up?
Alright, so we meant to do this a couple weeks ago, but that didn't happen. So this was your choice, Matt. I believe I offered you.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I remember I sent you a list of some films, and then you chose this one because you're like, huh, I've never seen. You said something like, oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So
I've only seen it recently.
yeah. So I guess what is your general thoughts on the film? Do you think it's good or not? I guess sort of a starting point.
I thought it was quite good. I
Yeah.
mean, it is pretty generalized in the topic of, because it's always been regarded as like, oh, one of the most excellent films of all time. Definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Like I can see how it's good, but I would never consider it anything like that.
Like a masterpiece. You wouldn't classify it as
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't classify it as a masterpiece. It was definitely good.
Yeah.
Like, I love the way Tarantino had organized all of the time skips.
Oh
Like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
like how it all came together in the end. That was really nice.
Yeah.
But ultimately, nothing like
Nothing special.
Yeah, absolutely legendary.
Yeah. And Ryan, what are your sort of thoughts on the film? Just sort of general thoughts on it.
I thought it was excellent.
All right.
You know.
Isn't this the only one
I mean-
you've seen though of Tarantino's career? Didn't you say that at some point?
Well, no, I've recently gone back and watched a bunch of his films, like *Inglourious Bastards*,
All right.
*Reservoir Dogs*, and a couple of them. Definitely, he has a very unique style, but with *Pulp Fiction*, something that obviously stands out is by far the dialogue. I mean, it's practically
absolutely.
flawless.
You
I
say
can agree with
practically
that.
flawless. What is there a bit that you don't find flawless? Because practically sort of implies that it's mostly good, but there's like one or
Well,
two
I mean,
a bit that you
nothing's perfect, you know.
don't. Yeah. I mean,
So-
I'm sort of I think it's great, but I do think it's a tad bit overrated. And I say this as someone who's a big fan of this film and Tarantino as a filmmaker. I just sort of feel that it's too long. I think all of his films are pretty much too long. Like, I think this one there's like
Django. His Django was quite good.
yeah.
In length.
Yeah, but I haven't watched that recently. I think I've seen it like one time, so I need to go back and watch it again to sort of get my sort of thoughts on that. But I think there's bits where it just sort of, I guess, sort of rambles on. I guess it's a bit slow, but I don't know if it's deliberately slow or if it's just I'm not interested in what's happening. I guess.
Yeah. That definitely makes heaps of sense to me, really. Like, I thought it was quite good, like what Roland said before, the dialogue was excellent.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed whenever, there'd be a quirky, like the relationship between Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta was so well done that like you feel like you could just watch them forever.
Yeah.
Like it worked really well. I think that's definitely one of the strongest points.
Yeah. And I think that sort of most of Tarantino's work is the best parts of most of his films are the dialogue. Like that's sort of the whole point is that just on the surface they seem like just incredibly violent films, but you sort of delve deeper into them and there's a lot more to them than that, and they're not just just violence. There's something going on.
To be honest, when I first watched it, I was surprised because I had no idea what it was about. What it was, I'd only really know that people say, "Oh, excellent film," and like I'd seen obviously posters and stuff like that, but it still really surprised me when I watched it because it wouldn't have been what I first picked
Yeah,
the film to be. I
that's
thought
the
it
same
was
with me as
yeah.
well. Because when I first, before I watched it, I thought it was all about that lady that does the twist dance. I forget her name now.
What, Uma
I
Thurman?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was she she was on all the posters, and I mean she's on all of like the video essays that you watch online
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
she's pretty much in all of the most famous scenes. So I thought I built up an impression that the film was all about her as a main character,
Yeah.
but it wasn't, and that
Yeah.
kind of surprised me when I watched it.
Yeah.
It was a
I.
pleasant surprise because it actually made her character better, I feel.
Yeah. I still remember my favorite scene being the when Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta were in the car together and he accidentally shoots him. Like I loved the
Oh,
loved
that
the
scene's
Yeah.
argument
that
between
scene's
the
so
two.
good.
Like it I was laughing a bit too hard at that one, I found. Just with the quick quips between the two.
No, it's so
And
good.
yeah,
I
I
love
genuinely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love how sort of nonchalant John Travolta's about it. He's like, "Oh man, I shot Marvin in the face." Like he's not
I
like
shot him.
he's
Yeah.
not like, he's very nonchalant about it, and I think that is I like that about it because it's sort of I think it's funny.
It's a direct contrast to Samuel L. Jackson's
Yeah.
character.
And
Because Samuel L. Jackson's character reacts
freaking out.
Yeah,
all frantic, and he's like, "Did you just do that?
yeah,
Did you just do that?"
yeah.
And then John Travolta's character's like, "Oh, I just shot him. God damn it."
I think that this film sort of. I think if you didn't cast those, if you didn't have John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, I don't know if it would work as well. Like if those two
Yeah.
parts were swapped or like they had different actors in, I don't think it would work as well. Because apparently George Clooney was in talks for John Travolta's part in the film, but he decided I'll do From Dusk Till Dawn instead. And I think that's probably a better choice because I prefer. I don't know if he would work as well as John Travolta does in this film.
Yeah, because obviously there's like the age difference
Yeah.
between Travolta and Jackson, which I think works very well in the end with the contrast.
Yeah.
Because obviously Samuel has much more experience, like especially in the movie, like whereas Travolta's sort of reckless and new to the scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because his end goal really is to retire Samuel L. Jackson's character after
Yeah.
the events of the Magnum going off next to them.
Yeah. I guess.
Another thing, wait, no, you go first. Sorry.
I guess while we're talking about it, I think overall most of the performances in this film are pretty good. Like I don't think there's really a weak link in the cast.
Well, maybe Tarantino's the weak link, honestly.
Really,
Remember
I'm gonna
when
be
he
honest.
was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
He pulled his weight definitely, but he was definitely not
You
as
can
good
tell
as...
he's not an actor.
Yeah.
But I actually think he was quite a bit of fun as in that performance. Like I will admit he's not good.
Easter egg.
He's not a good actor, but also it's just fun. That it's just sort of how he's playing it. I just sort of think that he's just like I think he's good in this, but in his other work when he has to act, he's kind of shite. Like he's
Yeah.
but and my dad is. I'm just gonna be honest. My dad does not like Pulp Fiction. He thinks it's overrated. And because he told me he first saw it and he thought it was like amazing because of how the way it's told a story, and so then he took one of his friends to see it, so he could see it again and so they could see it, and he just told me that he found it incredibly boring, and he finds that Tarantino is a very self-indulgent filmmaker. And he hasn't been a fan
Well,
of...
it's because a lot of it is based on twists, and like you don't really know what's gonna happen next, and you're always on edge because of the awkward timing of the events in the film. Whereas once you've seen it like a second time, I feel like it loses its charm.
Yeah, and that's where
I can
directors
imagine.
like Nolan sort of pick up from Tarantino. Their films are very repetitive. Not repetitive, rewatchable. So...
Oh, that's... I thought you were gonna say something bad about Nolan because I've done like a couple of other recordings and we just shit
Trash
on
all
Nolan.
over him.
Like I
Yeah.
don't dislike Nolan. I just think he's. And to be fair, I think Tarantino sort of got to that point in his career, sort of halfway through his career, where he was very self-indulgent and just making whatever he wanted, even if it sucked. You know, I think Tarantino sort of reached that point and then he moved past it, and he's just sort of made really good films since. Whereas Nolan has gotten to that point now in his career, he's gotten to that, and I don't know if he'll really get out of that point, because I think he's just a guy. Because Nolan is sort of a guy who his movies make money because his name is on it, you know, and that's sort of with the same with Tarantino. You see his name on it, like, oh, that's probably going to be good, you know. And I think there are some very few directors nowadays who are like that, where you see their name, where like a general audience will see their name, like, oh, that's going to be good. I should go see that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there obviously is like a list of directors who is kind of like almost a must-see whenever you see them making a new film. Like, because they've built up the fact that
A reputation.
almost all their movies have been excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like if I see a movie with like Tom Hanks in it, I'd want to see it because Tom Hanks is a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
Back to Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
One thing that did annoy me like a little bit. Oh, I don't know his name because I've forgotten now. But
which character is he?
It was the one with the French, I think, girlfriend.
Oh, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis, yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah,
oh God. Yeah, I gotta forget that. But yeah, Bruce Willis. His character was nice. It was so wildly different to.
It was so disconnected from everything else.
Yeah, it was disconnected from the other storyline which was going on at the exact same time, which I feel definitely took you out of the immersion of it.
Yeah.
Like obviously some people like that, but for me it just never really clicked for me. Having that happen.
Yeah.
Definitely the movie's quality, not so much in dialogue because Tarantino just knows how to write dialogue, but more so in sort of like the storytelling. It just dipped in quality when you were with Bruce Willis.
Yeah. And that's sort of a bit. Every time I come back to rewatch Pulp Fiction, I'm always like, I can't wait to rewatch the stuff with Sam Jackson and John Travolta. And then when it gets to the Bruce Willis stuff, I'm just kind of like,
It's there.
I mean, like, it's not bad. It's just I'm not as interested in that as I am in.
That's not why you watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's sort of like that's fine, but like I want to get to the good stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Another thing is I also really disliked when Travolta was killed like in the second act with Bruce Willis, and that kind of I was taken out of it knowing like, oh man, is that gonna happen, you know, rather than a whole big mystery.
So what would you have preferred they do then? They don't kill John Travolta's character, or they kill him later?
I just found it really strange that this guy who was like very focused in his own story, and they hadn't mentioned Travolta going after Bruce Willis, and he just sort of shows up.
Right.
Like it felt more of like a cameo, like, yep, let's loop this character back in, rather than because they weren't connected in any way. He was just merely like just a guy working for another guy rather than personal means.
Right, so you would have preferred if there was more. He was doing it. There was a personal vendetta on
or just they,
Vincent Vega's
or
part.
they knew each other more than just, oh yeah, like Travolta's working for someone and was asked.
Well,
like it could have been anyone else at that point, I feel.
Well, they had met like briefly beforehand when Jules and Vincent were dropping off the briefcase, and they sort of have a little confrontation.
Yeah, I also wish they could have had like some dialogue between them at that point instead of just
Mm.
You know,
I mean, like
kill straight off.
more dialogue than it's not a lot of dialogue that they have between.
Yeah,
They just sort of say like 2-3 lines back and forth, and then that's that. And so I do. That is a fair point that you kind of like sort of more reason between these characters and what like sort of more interaction to sort of so that when John Travolta is killed off, you feel that's more earned. More
yeah,
earned.
exactly.
Yeah.
Rather than just him being wrong place, wrong time.
Okay, yeah. Rowan, do you have any opinions on that?
He said everything I was thinking. I mean, I was going to talk about wrong place, wrong time as well, but there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'm just sort of looking at like who else is in this. Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer as the sort of two robbers that we see at the beginning at the end. I think
they're good.
They play off each other really well, and I can buy their relationship
Yeah.
together, and it's very believable that these two are together. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they worked well together, really.
Yeah.
Another person that was in it. Oh, God, what? Yeah, Harvey.
Harvey
Keitel.
Keitel. Oh, Harvey Keitel is
He did great in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he's not really in it a lot, but like what he does do in it is like
Yeah, significant. And,
yeah.
like you enjoy watching his presence, even if it was just very simple. What he did. Nice little sort of cameo there. Well acted. Like it worked well for it.
Yeah. I think Harvey Keitel is very good with as much as he's get because this seems to be sort of a thing in a lot of Tarantino's work. Is he's always got these great actors who very much don't do a lot, who like aren't in it a lot, but they do. But what they do is like they do a lot with not very much. I get is what I'm trying to say. They get a lot.
Well, he did end up rebuilding Travolta's career, really. Like he kind of gave him a starting point, which then led him on to do other stuff as well. But that's something I picked up from it. Like John Travolta, nice, fresh casting for it, suited well, and risky, which I liked as well.
Because sort of at this point in John Travolta's career, he was sort of kind of not that great. Like he wasn't a.
He had gotten too old for the classic romantic.
Yeah, like he couldn't make Grease
movies.
again, or whatever, or like he was very much a guy who they sort of pushed him back up into the stratosphere of stardom and sort of gave him more stuff to do. And he's since kind of lost it and is not that great anymore.
At the moment, yeah. But for a brief point in time, he was...
Yeah, for the next few years, he was very much a big name. And I think this film did that with a lot of it. Like, Samuel L. Jackson sort of became a massive name because of this film. Like, he'd been in films before, but this was, like, his big thing, you know?
Yeah, it's at least what made him well known to a series of like new audiences.
Yeah, because he'd done like I think he'd done like Do the Right Thing in like a brief part. He'd done Coming to America. Like he'd done a couple of sort of small mini roles.
Didn't he do Jurassic Park as well?
Jurassic Park, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was in a minor role.
But he was not
a relatively minor role.
He was a very sort of pulled back, very like small part in that massive film, and then this just sort of pushed him to like a new level. Of stardom. And he's one of the biggest actors working right now. He's another. Some like we talk about filmmakers who you sort of see their name and you're like, oh, that's going to be good. He's an actor who you see his name and you're like, that's probably going to be good because it's Samuel L. Jackson. And I think that is, a big deal. because he's.
Well, I mean, he just has that screen presence that a lot of people don't have. You know,
Yeah, there are very few actors
you look,
like
yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson who just like his charisma and his whole like just sort of way he can command a room, you know, and how he sort of has
Yeah.
the presence he adds to a scene.
Mm.
I think you've explained it quite well.
Yeah. So do we just wanna? Is there anything you guys want to particularly talk about, or do we just sort of want to go through the whole, just sort of go through, not scene by scene, but like through different parts of, sort of start from like the beginning, and sort of work our way through, or do you have anything specific you want to talk about first?
There is one thing I want to talk about.
All right, what is it?
The very, um, the very first line. I've seen this in so many video essays and dissections of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
The very first line is, "It's too risky. I'm not doing it."
Yeah, I think it's like forget it. It's too risky or something.
Yeah, and immediately it adds a question to the audience.
Yeah.
The question's already involved, thinking, "What is too risky?" They got to keep listening to figure it out.
A hook.
And then it immediately invests the audience. And I mean, that's just another excuse to say Tarantino is a perfect director when it comes to dialogue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the amount of times I've seen people comment on that one line is insane. It's not one of those lines that's quotable.
No,
it's just
really
one of those
not.
lines that's kind of subconsciously hooks you into the film immediately. And a lot of films don't do that. Well, most films don't do that because they don't really understand the concept of hooking someone in verbally.
a video essay on it, and they didn't call it a hook. I forgot what they called it, but they had like a different name for it, and they was
engagement.
No, it was like it's like what they were calling it was like give me a second, I'll have to find it. You guys, I'll try and find this, but I think that's a great way to start a film. Is you like the first line of dialogue should be something that sort of gets the audience interested, you know. And it's very much.
And that's what I found after recently watching Pulp Fiction again.
Yeah.
And then watching the film Greenland. You know, that disaster comet movie that came out recently.
Unfortunately, not.
I have not. No,
it's one of those. It's one of those, like, you know, 2012, Day After Tomorrow type films. Those disaster films.
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah.
One thing I noticed is that it opens so generically. It's like, oh, he's with a family, or he's playing with his kids. It's like, yeah, okay. I wasn't invested until something external happened that wasn't involving the family.
Okay.
But when it comes to Pulp Fiction, immediately I'm interested because of that one line.
Okay. And do you think all films should start like that? They should always have like
Not all films. Some films, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, stuff like that needs to build up, and sort of slowly visualize. Because obviously, show don't tell. That's essential in a film.
Yeah.
So starting a film with dialogue every time is about the type of director or the type of film you're making.
Yeah.
So it really does depend on what you're making if you start it with dialogue or not.
Yeah. I think that is. Yeah. So
Because something that annoys me more than anything is like when credits will go on for bloody ages, and you're not seeing any development. It's just
that's more of a
hard to explain.
That was more of a style that filmmakers used from the 90s back.
No, like that one was alright. The Pulp Fiction one, I mean, like when someone's moving or something to New York and they're in a taxi and there's really cheesy music over it. Like, nothing gets me less interested in a film than that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I've got too many Netflix movies where I've just stopped watching because of the shitty intro. So that just sort of proves how much it's important in the engagement.
Because that music, I mean, a way to do it, that type of thing correctly, is an example with introducing Spider-Man in Civil War. That song, he's hearing this song, so it's diegetic. he's hearing the song himself, and it also represents his personality. The way he reacts to the song, the way he sings to the song, sort of is a mirror of who he is.
Yeah,
So it's
also
already
quite
characterization on top of a pretty nice soundtrack, you know. But where films like the ones you're saying on Netflix, a lot of them just put a soundtrack in for the sake of putting a soundtrack in. So a licensed track, just for the sake of it because it sounds nice. The intro.
I think that's sort of
characteristic is definitely a major point.
I think talking
because Pulp Fiction had a characteristic very early on that it sort of let people know about just simply by the opening credits. It was a style you could immediately recognize, and like if you started watching it and you sort of heard about the movie, you go like, oh yeah, that's Pulp Fiction, you know.
Yeah, I mean that song that it has is very Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, you can start your thing now. Sorry, I kept on interrupting you.
No, I wasn't really listening to what you guys were saying because I was trying to find this thing. So I could hear sort of bits. So could you just sort of like, what were you guys talking? Were you talking about like you talk about music and credits, and I sort of got that. No.
Yeah, the characteristics of music and film,
how
and the sort of mood you want to get across.
How a certain track of being linked with a character can create character development.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I think Tarantino, he's very much, because in pretty much every film he's made, he always uses licensed tracks. He very rarely has a like a composer score for him, and I think he very much he doesn't use music for the sake of it, like licensed tracks. He uses it as establishment, or you know, in a way that fits. It's not just doing it because he can. You know?
Yeah, it adds to the film.
Yeah. And I think this film has got some pretty nice music. I think there's some very nice tracks in it.
Yeah, definitely a good album.
Agree. I agree.
So yeah. So should I just do you guys just want to go through like a like just sort of go through individual scenes, or should I just go through?
Yeah, or just briefly at least.
Yeah, so I think the opening scene, the diner scene, I guess we could sort of talk about the opening diner scene and the final diner scene together as one, because they are. I think that it's a very good way to start a film, to sort of start off with a very interesting, sort of start off with a robbery.
Yeah.
I'd put it. I think Tarantino, in every film that he's made, I think every opening scene is he doesn't start it with a scene that like you don't think a different scene should be here. It's always the scene that like it works and it makes sense that it's there, because it's always establishing character, you know, not necessarily the main character but a character or several characters at once. Like if you look at Reservoir Dogs, you know, it's the opening, it's all the, you know, the robbers, and they're all out at eating at, you know, a diner, and that's like the best way they should start with the film, to establish who these guys are and, you know, how they work.
Yeah.
You know, sort of how they tick, I guess.
Because every single comment and sort of remark that it's said around that table, every single line is important. You can't just cut out a line, because it all adds to the film and to the characters that are saying those lines. I mean, that's a big mistake that a lot of filmmakers make, is they write dialogue that is unnecessary.
Like what? Like, can you give like a specific director you can think of who does that, or do you just
M. Night Shyamalan?
I haven't seen any of Shyamalan's bad films. I've seen like only his good stuff, and it's good.
Yeah, but
I've seen
he writes a scene with such pointless dialogue, and I mean even scenes that are like, I mean, what TV shows a lot of the time because they're so long because they're usually 5 or 6 films worth of content
Yeah.
at minimum.
Yeah.
Usually there's always a couple episodes in there that are just not needed or just
Yeah,
a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even say that about stuff like Stranger Things. There's a couple episodes in there that are just they add a little bit, but not enough to warrant an episode, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's where Tarantino succeeds in this, is that every single line of dialogue is needed, and every single line of dialogue adds to the film, or adds to the characters, or adds to the setting,
Yeah.
and it sort of continues the film and the plot. So,
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I will
very
go
good
as far
point.
to say that this is a very well written screenplay that doesn't, like, I don't know if someone else could write this film. Like, if you had a different person as the writer, it probably wouldn't work as well because it would become off as, pretentious and boring and just overly long. Which this film is a bit long, but most of what happens is important and necessary to the story.
I feel like something that also very much boosted it is the fact that Tarantino was quite known for his work and was regarded as a good filmmaker by that point. So if it was credited, he would have some sort of recognition to, oh, it must be, somewhat good, even if it is like a bit boring.
Yeah, because he'd
which
done.
would have definitely helped with film success.
Yeah, he'd done Reservoir Dogs, and he'd also sold a script for a film called True Romance. He'd sold a script to I think it was Miramax or something like the Weinstein's company. He sold them a script. I think it was so they had a script and hey, this Tarantino guy, he gave us a script. They sort of were holding on to it and hey, we've got this. We should make a film of this. And so then they did. And I think, yeah, and this was very much a film where, because of how well Reservoir Dogs had gone and how much it was loved, Reservoir Dogs was a hit, somewhat, not a massive hit, but it was a hit, and then True Romance came out, and so he was sort of allowed to do what he wanted, I guess. And I think that he's very much at that point in his career at this now, where he could just make what he wanted and nobody would stop it because it's Tarantino, which I think is, at times, they probably should tell him to stop or tell him to you need to get rid of that because it's too much. That's just sort of my opinion on some of his films.
Yeah, no, good point there. I agree with that. It's definitely making a name for yourself is very important in before you do something as ambitious as what that was identified as.
Yeah, because I think this is a film that it's how difficult, it might just be me, but it seems like a film that might be a little bit difficult to explain what the plot is, because there isn't really a massive plot. There is.
It doesn't follow the
plots
traditional
leading
3-act
to-
structure.
Yeah.
There's multiple plots all leading to similar endings, or
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, and I think this is a film where you could, the way it sort of, I think even if you put it all in, correct order, it sort of starts with, the flashback with, Christopher Walken, and it ends with Butch riding off on the motorcycle, I don't think it matters. I think the film, do you think the film would be worse or better if it was, everything was in order, it wasn't just, jumping back and forth between different scenes?
Well, I think he executed in a way that works, because it's still cohesive. Because immediately once the scene shifts to a different timeline, you're thinking, oh, that's that bit, because it's already been established and it's already been referenced, and it sort of he organizes it in a way that makes sense for a time jump type
You're
of plot.
consciously going, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. He doesn't try to hide the cuts. He doesn't try to make it sort of all over the place or tries to make the scenes or the sets look the same. He intentionally differentiates the scenarios and sets that he uses so that you can identify which time line you're in or time period you're in. So I feel like because of that, because he did that so well, he was so meticulous with how he designed the sets and designed the script, it works. But I think if another filmmaker did it, a less experienced filmmaker, I don't think it would have worked at all.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's what I asked, though. I asked, do you think if this took place, like, chronologically, do you think the film would be better or worse?
I wonder if there's an edit out there somewhere.
It probably is.
Probably someone has done that.
I don't know what it would be like.
I know someone's done it for the Back to the Future trilogy.
Huh. But I feel like it would. I'm not sure, but I feel like it would be recognized, but it also would be nowhere near as good as the original, because the original was praised for its ability to mention, you know, the time skip and the chronological order, how it wasn't following the same structure. Like, that's something that it was often praised for, and taking that element away might take away any sort of, I don't know, it would take away part of the excitement and hype about it, because the hype was based around the fact that he pulled off something very few filmmakers can do.
Yeah. I'd definitely be interested to see what it would be like if it was chronological. Like, if someone made an edit of it chronologically. I like how a thing that I think you might have noticed in the diner scene. In one of the shots, you could see Vincent Vega like walking behind them as they're talking, to sort of set it up for later. That it, you know, it's something that you probably don't notice at first, or you definitely don't think about at first. But then if you watch it again, you're like, oh, it's Vincent Vega, and I think that works really well to sort of have the setup and, you know, have it all make sense and everything, and have it all work.
Yeah, no, I like how they had little sort of Easter eggs between it, rather than big obvious announcements. Like, I like the subtleties involved in it.
Yeah. I guess, is there anything that, Rowan, you didn't like in the film? Because I've sort of gone on about I don't massively care. I think it's too long, and I'm not a massive fan of the Bruce Willis stuff. Is there anything like that, like, what either of you, to be honest, really dislike about the film?
I mean, there's nothing I really actively dislike about the film. There's nothing that comes to mind that I don't like. I mean, I've only watched it once recently, and the last time I watched it before that was like 10 years ago. So, but thinking about it now, I can't think of anything that I don't like. Either everything's good or really good, in my opinion.
I still think it's mediocre for me. It is good, but not grand.
Yeah.
So I think this film does a very good job of introducing each individual character. Like, sort of each introduction scene works well and establishes character, and like in 10 seconds you have like an understanding of who these characters are, like what they want, what they do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're familiar with their motives.
Yeah. Like, I think the introduction scene between Jules and Vincent could, like, if it was another writer, sort of their dialogue and their introduction scene could not, like, wouldn't be as well made, well written and well done, because it's a way of writing characters that only Tarantino can do. And I think like some people might not like that sort of introduction of them just sort of talking about burgers from Amsterdam and stuff, but I think that works particularly well and establishes the relationship between the two characters.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, excellent points. Can't argue with your explanation behind that, really.
Sort of.
Is there another topic you want us to talk about?
There's a really this is a scene that I'm not sure how I feel about, honestly. It's the scene where the GIMP scene where
I didn't like that one.
Is that the one I'm thinking of?
It's
Where
where
they're in the basement?
yeah, where Marcellus
Yeah.
and Butch are captured.
Yeah, and then
It had a good ending to it.
non-PG events happen.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and just going, oh no.
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I was like, what is I was very much like, what is this? Why is this happening?
I unfortunately knew immediately what was about to happen. I went, oh no. I don't want to watch
As soon as you
this.
see that basement, you know something's sus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't know how to feel about it because it's something interesting and something you haven't seen, but it's also something that I don't know if that film warranted. Like, I don't know if it earned that. Like, I was listening to there was a podcast where these guys were talking about it, and they were talking about it, and one of the guys I don't know if I would say liked it, but he thought it was an interesting idea, and he thought it was like a good thing that was in the film, and the other guy was like, nah, it's just like too weird, and he would have preferred if they were in like a thing with like rival, like gang members of Marcellus Wallace, and then Butch and Marcellus had to like team up to take them down, and I think I would have maybe preferred that as like a sort of way of like Butch helps save Marcellus and then he can leave. I don't think you needed the GIMP. I don't think that was a necessary thing to add to the film.
I also
it was a bit excessive. I mean, it came out of no, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like that
really
was
did
kind of good as well. The fact it did come out of nowhere, because how unlucky was it when they just happened to enter this guy's shop.
Yeah.
And then, you know, this whole thing goes down. It's just.
But I
it's
guess
just so
it kind of
random
adds depth to the world, you know.
Yeah.
Because there's this random person they just stumble across that has this whole basement operation, and I don't know.
I did find
dumb,
it a bit
but
comedic just because it came out of nowhere. Well,
I
at least
don't feel like it was
entertaining.
meant to be taken serious because the music behind the scene was very sort of lighthearted and I guess not really, but Disney type, like fairy type music, and it's like, and I'm thinking like, how am I meant to be feeling here? I'm meant to be feeling like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, oh, it's funny. So you know,
it's
also weird.
It's just sort of weird because the more you think about it, it's like, man, these guys must have done this before. Like they've been just, they're just waiting, and it's like that's just weird because that must just be like.
Then again, you're like waiting for what?
Yeah, I guess do they care if it's? I guess they don't care really. It's just they sort of wait for people, and I'm just like, so it's just sort of very much
wait for people to stumble in their shop all bloody and bruised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis was the perfect candidate for that operation.
You have to also wonder what if they picked the other guy, you know,
if it was Bruce
Willis to go in first.
Yeah, that is sort of an interesting idea. Like, what if the roles are reversed? What happens then?
Would he be able to escape, and would he come back to rescue?
Yeah, I think that
does Big Man have the same morals as Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
You know.
But also, I think it makes sense that Bruce Willis can like escape and sort of, you know, fight his way out of that because he's established as a boxer, you know, and he's dangerous, you know, like early on, like one of his first scenes, he's killed a guy, you know, and I think
Which
that
ended up putting him in hot water later on.
yeah, but I think it's a good establishment of this is a guy who he can he knows how to not deal. Well, I mean, yeah, he knows how to escape and he knows how to fight his way out of this situation.
And he's not afraid of getting hurt either. Because,
No.
I mean, the car crash you saw at when he ran into Big Man. I don't know his name, so I just call him Big Man. When he runs into him, yeah, Marcellus. There it is. When he runs into Marcellus Big Man, he he crashes into him. He doesn't have any regard for anywhere because as soon as he gets out of the car, he just bolts. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like he does. He went back because he's not really afraid of getting himself hurt.
Yeah.
He has his morals that kind of overtake his mindset.
Yeah.
And just goes for it. And I mean that adds a lot of depth to his character, and I guess to Big Man Marcellus over there.
Yeah.
Because you see his reaction to it. It's like sort of a bittersweet type. I love you and thank you, but you got to get the hell out of here. You know.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, but I like how that ends his character, Bruce Willis's character, of like he doesn't need to worry about this anymore, and it's sort of he has the money and everything. He's got the bike and everything. He's got not the money, but like he's got.
Well, at that point, he had killed Travolta.
Yeah.
So he probably would have been in strife for that.
Yeah.
As well.
But I do like that sort of way that Marcellus is like. He's sort of they're even, He doesn't feel necessary to go after him anymore because he's just sort of done this massive thing. So he'll let him off, but if he comes back, then he'll kill him, and I do like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's good as well, really.
So yeah, that's just like the main thing that was like the main thing that really sort of stuck out to me when I first watched it. That whole like Gimp scene is like, man, this is why this is not necessary.
Yeah, it's sort of thanks I hate it.
Yeah, it's
type thing.
It's just like very much this is something that he
something
wanted
new.
to because and I will give it that it is something new. It's something that you don't see. Because, like, who would ever write that?
Has he ever spoken about his thought process about it?
Tarantino.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Really?
I'm gonna see if I could find anything, but I don't think he has.
I think Tarantino has two different mindsets: the mindset of a filmmaker and the mindset of a man, just being a man. And I think once he's not in that sort of mindset of being a filmmaker, he just kind of shuts it all down and just moves on. And doesn't really go in depth to what he's trying to say. But I feel like in the interviews, it wouldn't be appropriate to ask about that scene either. So I don't know if there's a real place for him to talk about it openly,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, true.
Because he said Tarantino, when he like retires from making films, that he's gonna be writing books and stuff. So I'm wondering if he could go into that, if he'll go into that in like a book at some point. Because in a book, it depends what he writes about, of course. But if he writes about, films and stuff about them that sort of behind the scenes stories that other people don't know, then he could go into it there. But it's very much a weird thing to have in a film.
Have to explain as well.
Yeah, and
it might be better to leave it unexplained.
Yeah, and he also he did an interview where he was sort of talking about he's talking about one of his other films, and he was sort of talking that he doesn't really pre-plan his scripts when he writes them. He just sort of writes and sort of just keeps going until he gets to the end. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe he just came up with that as he was writing. It's like, like he sort of got to that point.
It does feel very spontaneous.
Yeah. Maybe he was just writing the stories, like he just got to that point, like, what if I did this instead? Because I think that it's unique, and
I've seen, unfortunately, like enough bad movies like that to know that I wasn't surprised when it came on. I wasn't like taken aback because I've seen a few movies where they've incorporated that form of torture or just randomized pickings, and
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised when it came on. And I'm like, yeah, all right, but yeah, I don't
But
know.
why? Why is this here?
Yeah.
That's the question we keep coming back to: is why we can't find an answer to this.
No.
Why is
And
it
I
there?
don't know,
We don't know.
if you can find an answer for that. Honestly, I
No.
think it's something that it might be.
Just simply has its own meaning.
Yeah. It's definitely.
Or maybe Tarantino just wanted to spice the film up
Yeah.
a little bit.
Or shock audiences.
Yeah. Seems like, I mean, that's what he does. Is he just sort of was what what Tarantino does. He very much just sort of does things to surprise an audience. If you look at some of his other films, he just sort of does those things because he can.
Yeah.
And I think that is a potential problem at times where he writes something for the sake of writing it, not because it is, not for the story or anything. He just wants to do it because he can.
Yeah.
And
No, a fair point.
I think that is a bit of a problem at times with some filmmakers where they just sort of do whatever they want because they want to. I think Christopher Nolan is a big example, a more modern example of someone who just does what he wants because he can, and his films suffer because of that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I can see that. That's true.
Do you guys have? Is there anyone else, like any major directors who sort of are like that?
Spielberg, maybe? No, not really.
Right.
Spielberg never got to the point in his career where he just started going crazy with it. I feel like he was very level and grounded with his filmmaking, because he was in that like late 20th century time frame where technology was really starting to just come into the film industry, like CGI and animatronic and all that.
Yeah.
So he was just using all the new stuff instead of trying new stuff with stories. I mean, he was just a really talented filmmaker, but he used the technology of the time to enhance his films with like Jaws and Jurassic Park and all that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Do a lot to. Like he's not like Spielberg as a director is not self-indulgent.
No, he's a very respectable director.
Yeah, and he makes but to be fair, he's a very different kind of director.
He's an old style director. He makes films from. Does he still make films? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a film from him in years. Like
really, he's made films recently. Like his most. Like, he made Ready Player One, if you've seen that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he's making the West Side Story remake. That was meant to come out last year, but obviously didn't. But he's, like, directing that.
I know he does produce a lot of things now.
Well, I mean, he's got the money where he can just sort of do what he wants, because of how much money he's made. Like, he's one of I think he's, like, the highest, like, as a director, he's made the most money of any other director working
Oh, he's
today.
also got a lot of films under his belt. Like, it's not like he's only done a couple.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's got more classic films under his belt than most directors, He's got Jaws, Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan. He's got huge films that he just spits out over the past couple decades.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone knows what Jaws is. Everyone knows what Jurassic Park is. You can't, even if you don't watch films, even if hypothetically someone has never seen a film before, they've most likely heard of Jaws or Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because they're pulp fiction icons. Yeah. I mean, that roar from the T-Rex is a sound effect, one of the most infamous sound effects in film.
Yeah.
So.
It says here that Steven Spielberg is, like, worldwide the highest grossing director, with his films making over $10 billion. Like,
that makes sense.
And then just behind him are the Russo brothers, who their films have combined made $6 billion. You know, and you sort of look at like the list, and there's very much like some directors who make sense. You know, like Christopher Nolan. You know, James Cameron. You know, and then you've got like Michael Bay, who his movies just make a lot because.
Well, no,
China.
Michael Bay, he appeals to the casual audience of filmmakers that just kind of sit there and watch explosions.
Yeah. And he also appeals to like the Chinese market because they are much more into that, you know. And that's why
people like Tarantino and Spielberg and Nolan and all that do not appeal to those audiences.
No, but yet they're massive names and people like to see their films, and they make, you know, like they're sort of at a point where they're kind of both, like they're sort of for casual moviegoers, but they're also for like more people who are more into seeing films. Like there's, you know, like casual audience and then a not so casual audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Michael Bay is very much for the casual audience.
Yeah, fairly unique opinion is you were talking earlier before about directors who just sort of do their own thing.
Yeah.
Like Taika Waititi. I love his work.
Taika Waititi, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love his work so much because of his ability to make randomness into something.
Yeah.
Like he executes it.
You just make random shit and it's always funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's either funny or deep and touching. Like I love.
Yeah, because Hunt for the Wilder People is both really funny and both a coming of age story that makes sense. You know, like it's genuinely a fantastic film mainly because of style that he uses. You know, it has a sort of it sort of has a character. It's sort of a character of its own, the film, because of the way that he made it and put this like the type of soundtrack and cinematography and location and the type of people that he cast for the film has its own sort of, it has a life of its own compared to other films, you know. Because as soon as you start watching Hunt for the Wilder People, it sort of just brings you straight into it, sort of like Pulp Fiction, where it uses visuals and music and characters to immediately suck you in. Where it's the opposite for Pulp Fiction, where it obviously uses dialogue to bring you in. So I guess that brings us back to that point. Hooking someone into a film is as important as keeping them in the film.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. So back to Pulp Fiction. In every episode I've recorded, we've always gone on just a tangent about something else. It's always just been something.
Well, film is such a fun topic to talk about.
It is.
Not to go on a tangent.
Yeah, it is. I'm just trying to sort of look at what else there is. I think so. We were talking about Tarantino as an actor earlier, and I think he's good in this. Like, he's not anything amazing, but I think he is, in this film anyway, able to sort of hold his own against Samuel L. Jackson and does a decent job for a non-actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, his attitude I liked. I thought, like, he was kind of unimpressed. Like, that way he wouldn't have set up anything difficult for himself to act, but rather a much more casual person to play. Like, it worked well for him that he picked someone who wouldn't require like a lot of acting experience, just sort of because he was just some guy, really. In the when you get down to it. Because Tarantino, there was two parts in mind that he wanted to play. So there was that part, and he also considered playing. Do you guys remember who Lance is?
Nah.
Maybe.
He's the guy. He's like John Travolta's friend, and like his drug dealer, and they have like the adrenaline scene.
Yeah. No, I don't think he would have worked well for that one.
So he was sort of considering playing either that part or the Jimmy part, but he decided he wanted to play Jimmy because he wanted to sort of be behind the camera during the stuff with Lance, where it is the adrenaline and everything. And I think that is a much better choice because I don't think he would work as
He couldn't have pulled
Lance.
it off.
I don't think he would have been able to do that as well. Like Jimmy works because it sort of plays to his ability as an actor.
Yeah.
In that there's very little to do, and it doesn't require much acting. It just sort of needs him to shout, you know, not just shout, but like it's like shouting and sort of getting annoyed and sort of very much playing up a very basic part. And that actually, I think that's a very well directed and acted scene. Is the scene where Mia is overdosing on heroin, isn't it? Like she thinks it's coke.
No, is it heroin?
I think it's heroin. Well, it's definitely not coke.
Oh.
I mean, let's see what it says.
Yeah.
It says here, yeah, she finds his heroin and mistakes it for
random
cocaine, and then no, it's heroin, but she thinks it's cocaine, and so she snorts it, and then she just loses it. I think that's a very well done scene. I think Tarantino is
fast paced.
Yeah, it's very fast paced, and I think Tarantino is very good at writing suspense in his films. I think that because some directors try and write suspense and sort of have that form of tension in their films, but it doesn't work, and Tarantino is able to make that work.
Yeah. Definitely.
I might even go as far as to say I don't know if it's my favorite scene of the film, but it's definitely one of the best scenes of the film for sure. And I sort of it's not particularly realistic with him just jamming the adrenaline shot into her heart, but I don't really care because I think it doesn't matter. Like the sort of realisticness behind it doesn't matter when it's written in the way that it's written in, and you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it works. It definitely makes the movie better.
Yeah.
Definitely that scene. I agree with you. It's a really good scene. So I feel like you can throw logic out a little bit out of the window if it means it makes the movie better.
Yeah. I think that all the characters play off each other well. I don't think there's a particular weak link when it comes to sort of the chemistry that the characters have together. Like that's just sort of my opinion on it. But do you guys have anything that you would like? Like, is there any particular pairings or so of characters that you want to talk about, or any that kind of stand out to you in a good or a bad way?
Big Man and Bruce Willis.
In a good way or a bad way? Do you think?
They are a good way because they both bounce off each other because obviously they're adversaries towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that Bruce Willis comes back into that weird ass scene and saves him, and then I
like how
he's like, we don't talk about
we're
this
dodging
anymore.
it as much as we can, and we don't want to say the words because we don't want to talk about it. And I think that
we don't want to say the R word. No, we don't
but
say the
people
R word.
know what we're talking about. Like it's
the EPAR word.
Yeah, like I think just saying GIMP just tells people which scene it is.
It works.
Yeah,
it works. It definitely works.
Yeah.
But those two, Big Man and Bruce Willis, they work together really well. I don't know why. I think they just have good chemistry because Bruce Willis is very sort of energetic in that film, and Big Man is sort of you know, like controlled and calculated, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So they are complete opposites, but they benefit each other because I mean, both of them hate each other, but they're forced to interact with each other, so it just kind of works out.
Yeah. I think that the introduction, like introducing Marcellus Wallace, I like the whole, you don't really see him, like you sort of like, it just sort of shots of like maybe like his shoulder, or like it's just a shot of Bruce Willis and someone's talking to him, or like the back of his head. I really like that, the whole introduction, because I think very much way, like introducing characters like that, sort of a pivotal part of the story, needs to be done very well, and I think Tarantino did that very well with Marcellus Wallace.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, because he's a big guy, you know it's him from a silhouette.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I mean, someone that size is pretty hard to introduce wrong,
yeah,
unless you're just straight up an idiot.
yeah.
Because he's got a screen presence that everyone else around him doesn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Matt?
Matthew, Saucy,
Matt?
Matt.
Okay, let's just talk for a little bit and see if he comes back.
You're gonna have to cut that bit out
Yeah,
because he by all standards he should be here the whole time.
yeah, he
He's
should
never
be.
left.
It just says he's muted.
Yeah.
Oh, he just sent a
He's
message
taking a
saying,
piss
be
or
back
something.
soon.
Oh.
Let's just keep talking and we'll just like... I think that John Travolta and Uma Thurman play off each other really well. I think they have a very good chemistry. That...
Especially in the diner. Oh Jesus! Especially in the diner scene.
What was that? Was that your chair or something?
That was my chair being a bit odd. Yeah, they play off each other really well in the diner scene, especially because I mean, she's trying to dig into him and try and figure out who he is, and he's sort of holding back. But then he makes an ultimatum, and then she goes away, and then he thinks of a question, and it's just kind of like, it's really well done. It's really well paced, and it sort of unravels the character for the audience, John Travolta's character for the audience, and for Miss something something over there, and I feel like it really does add. Again, it adds to the film just the way that Tarantino does all the time. Because it gives us answers for questions we've been asking, as well as answers that she's been asking, and it's a natural way of revealing exposition, you know?
Yeah. I like the whole like the entire scene in the diner where they're like ordering their food and they're just like talking about stuff, and I like sort of how
the milkshake, that milkshake.
It does look really nice. It looks
the best milkshake on the West Coast.
Yeah. Also, this must have been a 90s thing, because the way that Vincent freaks out is like, did you just spend $5 on a milkshake? I'm like, that's actually pretty reasonable.
That is really cheap, but think about it, it is American money.
That is true, yeah.
Their inflation is different to ours.
That is true,
and it is like the 80s or 90s or whatever it was.
Yeah. That's sort of how I have to look at it. I'm like, okay, so it's a 90s thing, so I guess it's different in the 90s. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense it's in the 90s. Did you notice the Steve Buscemi cameo in it?
No.
Oh, he plays the waiter in it. He's like the waiter for Vincent and Mia. He's the guy taking their order.
What?
Yeah, it's
really.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, you don't. Did you actually not know? I didn't notice it.
Yeah. I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it.
Yeah, he's the waiter in it, and it's actually kind of funny because because I don't even think he's credited as the waiter. It's just he's in it. Like, it's sort of a thing. Like, I think if you go through the cast, like if you were to go on like IMDb, he'd be on there, but it'd be like uncredited or something. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna just send you an image of him right now. Like, it's a little harder to see because he doesn't have like a goatee or like his usual hair. It's very different.
Yeah, because that's what you identify him with. That hair
and sort of like a goatee as well. I sort of imagine him with a goatee. Like, he just sort of looks right with a goatee or some form of facial hair.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Did I notice? I swear I didn't notice him.
Because I was listening to other people talk about it and they pointed it out, and so when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's Steve Buscemi. That's him right there. Who I love Steve Buscemi. I think he's great. Like Reservoir Dogs, he is just fantastic.
Yeah, is it the same character, or is it just the actor?
I think
Oh
it's
my god, it is him. What? What? No way. How did I miss it? It's center shot. How did I miss that? He must have spoke as well. So
No, he absolutely does, and it's very much like the first time you watch it, you might. Oh, Matt, you back?
Yeah,
Matthew.
just came back.
Okay,
what's up?
you've been missing out. We've been talking about. Did you notice that Steve
the
Buscemi
milkshake.
was in Pulp Fiction?
Oh, really?
Dude, you
that him
see,
there?
no one notices him.
No, I like the first time I didn't notice, and then someone pointed it out, and now every time he's on screen, I'm like, I just look at it because it's like it's Steve Buscemi, and
Steve Buscemi, yeah.
yeah, and
Jeez.
it's the whole, and it's funny because if you've seen Reservoir Dogs, it's kind of ironic that he's playing a waiter. Have you guys seen Reservoir Dogs?
Some of it.
Some of it, yeah.
I haven't seen it in its entirety, no.
Oh yeah, isn't he the one that doesn't like to get tips?
Yeah, he doesn't like
Yeah.
to tip because he doesn't like in his sort of explanation is like
thinks-
he doesn't think
Yeah.
they he doesn't think they not deserve tips, but like he just doesn't do it because he doesn't.
and he sort of
want to.
degrades the employment path
Yeah.
of a waiter, and he's
Yeah.
a waiter there.
Like
see
he
what you
says
mean.
something like he doesn't tip because society says he has to. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't do it because he's told to. You know, he doesn't just. It's not an automatic thing for him. So I think that's a very very nice cameo in the film, and I think. Yeah,
Jeez, he's so young there.
I know
I
it's
didn't
crazy. It's like it's because also you're
Takes you
probably
aback.
not focused on him when you first watch it. You're sort of focused on like Vincent and Mia, but then the more you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, it's Steve Buscemi in it, and I think he's and I just think it's really nice that he's in it, you know, because I like Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, he's funny.
His voice is so good.
Yeah,
It's like,
he's got a very unique voice that like he's like, you know, like there are people who could do impressions, and it's very hard to find people who can do an impression of Steve Buscemi's voice because
Yeah.
it's just, you know,
It's weird because it sounds high pitch and low pitch at the same
Yeah.
time. It's weird to
Yeah.
pull off.
I was sort of just thinking about something earlier. We have not yet, somehow, we've gone over an hour into this recording, and we haven't talked about the briefcase, which
Oh
is
my god.
like a major thing that is sort of throughout
Yeah.
the story. I like that the number to open it is 666. I just find that funny. And I like the whole. I like Tarantino's explanation of what's in it, of that it's whatever the viewer wants it to be. Because I think I'm much more interested, and I prefer when it's like up to interpretation, or it's this or it could be this. I don't like, not like, and sometimes I want definitive answers, but in this sort of thing, I like the whole, oh, you can just, it can be what you want, and there's no wrong answer, you know. Like, I don't often think about what I personally think's in there, but I do.
Think about what the characters want.
Yeah. Like, do you guys have any idea of what in your sort of head
Lego
canon, I
Death
guess?
Stars aren't gold. I don't know what they're on about. Why is it gold?
I do like that sort of way of.
Okay.
I do sort of like the way of it sort of glows. It's sort of heavenly, I guess. It's like this
It's
amazing thing
mystical.
that everybody is after, and I like that as a sort of
Yeah. There's a couple movies that do that pretty well.
I was just thinking about it because we were talking, and I was like, man, I just realized we haven't talked about the briefcase, which is like a major part of
Symbolic.
the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like the whole thing with Jules, and he's got the Bible speech that he gives, like the whole he's reading that passage from the Bible.
Oh yeah, and he doesn't attach any meaning to it until an event happens.
Yeah, and I
then
do
he
like
actually
that.
says it for a reason.
Yeah, And that's I don't know if did you guys know that basically none of that is real? Like it's
No,
not,
yeah, of course it's not.
yeah. Like part of it is, but like most of it is just like written by it was just made up. He's like,
Tarantino.
I'll just like make this up.
To serve the plot, really.
Yeah, it's not important.
And it's worded to sound like a Bible scripture.
Yeah,
With all
exactly.
its old English
Yeah,
type
convinced
words,
me.
like
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think if you don't know that it's fake, like I think a lot of people probably think it's real. They're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes like that is, you know, and I'm sure some people are disappointed if they were to like read a Bible like, man, that was not real. That's not in the Bible, you know. And I do sort of like
it's in Bible too.
yeah, it's in the sequel that hasn't come out
Yeah.
yet. I like the whole yeah. I do like that sort of difference in character of he just says it because he thinks it's cool and then he sort of realizes there's sort of another meaning to it, that it sort of relates to something else, you know, and that it's not just, you know, something that he likes to say
Whoa.
now. It has what?
Yeah, agreed.
A bird just hit my window.
Is it okay?
Cool.
I don't know. It's not here anymore. I think it's fine.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I just hear, whoa. That's all I hear.
You wanted to join in.
Yeah.
Who's trying to join in?
Hmm.
Oh, the bird. He had something to say. I thought Brad was in the Discord chat in general, saying, "Can I join, please?"
I mean, if Brad wanted to, he could, and he could, and I couldn't do anything about it.
He would have an understanding of this film that we don't, and he would like
Yeah.
attach it to like Shakespeare or something.
Yeah. We did I recorded an episode with him like maybe a week ago or so, and he had a lot to say. That's the longest recording we did. I think we went for 2 hours nearly, or about.
Holy shit, you beat my one.
I know, because we did a one for Get Out, and we went an hour and a half on that.
Yeah.
I haven't like edited
what
any of
movie
it
were
yet.
you talking about?
We did
Holy moly.
Rear Window.
Never heard of it.
Oh yeah.
You've never
That's
heard of
pretty
Rear
good,
Window?
that one.
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock classic. It's the one.
Never heard of it. Oh, mower.
It's the
was
one
one
where
of
the guy
my favorites
he's
of
sitting
Hitchcock.
at a window and like a broken leg and he's like spying on his neighbors and everything.
Yeah. Then he sees some stuff.
Broken Window is it called?
Rear Window.
Real.
Oh god. In that recording, we also kept calling it something else. We always like mixed either rear or window with like a different word.
Rear Window.
Yeah, rear. The fact that you've like it's fine if you haven't seen it, but not even having like hearing it is mental. Like you actually need to go watch it.
I've never heard of this film.
Said
Oh
you
my God.
studied film.
We did
Oh
an
my god,
entire.
it's got 100% on Metacritic. Sorry?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
What? Professional photographer Jack is stuck in his apartment, recuperating from a broken leg. Out of boredom, he begins to spy on his neighbors and comes across a shocking revelation.
yeah, it's amazing. And the fact
Alfred Hitchcock.
have you heard? You must know who Alfred Hitchcock is, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fact that you haven't heard of this is ridiculous.
It came out in 1954.
So
So?
you've heard of older movies than that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've watched Frankenstein, like the 1936 one.
Yeah,
Whatever-
exactly,
whatever
and that's older than this. You need to watch it, and then you can listen to our episode on it because we go full spoilers. So you need to.
How do I find your previous episodes?
Well, I haven't uploaded any yet. It's on Spotify
Yeah.
right now, and I'll have to set up an Apple ID to put it on Apple Podcasts. But I'll send you guys like the link to it when
Okay.
I've got it all done. But I've uploaded the first episode. I'll send it to you guys, and it'll all be good.
Okay.
So I'm just sort of looking at
the birds.
the
Did he do King Kong? I swear he did King
What?
Kong, didn't he?
What? No, bro.
No, that
He-
was
he
that. No,
would
that
not-
wasn't.
What
That was,
about, bro?
Alfred Hitchcock would never make King Kong. That's like nothing
Isn't
like
he
his
the one
stuff.
that
He did
I'm
Psycho.
laughing at Hitchcock movies? He did Psycho.
Yeah. Tell me Are you...
I've seen Psycho. Shut up. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've seen Psycho. The Birds. I think I've seen some of The Birds. I mean, there's a lot of birds in the world, but I've seen some.
Yeah.
Suspicion. Frenzy. Family Plot. Okay.
This is...
I've seen a couple of his, but
Yeah. We were meant to be talking about Pulp
Oh,
Fiction, and
no,
we've gone on this.
Yeah, haven't
Seen that
I feel like we've said everything we've needed to say, to be honest.
I'm just
can't
gonna
really
sort of
think of
look
anything
through
else
anything and
that we
see if there's
haven't gone over.
anything. I made a bunch of notes, but I don't.
Unless you've got something.
But I didn't bring them with me because I didn't think I'd need them, honestly. And I think pretty much everything I wanted to say is I said, and I don't think there's anything anything else I need to say. Honestly, I think this is.
I can't think of anything else
No. I guess so. Can I just get
apart from the scene.
Apart from is there anything else you want to say about the scene, or is that already like?
It's different.
It's different, yeah. I will give it that. It is
That's
different.
about it.
So can I get? Do you guys want to give a rating for it? Just like a 1 out of 10, like 1 to 10 rating for the film?
yeah.
Okay, Rowan.
Yeah,
You can
I'll
go
give
first.
it a 9.
A 9. All right.
I'll give it a 9.
And
I'll
Matt,
give it a 7.5.
7.5. Okay. I actually agree with Rowan.
Respectable.
I give it a 9. And I do think there are better films that Tarantino's made. In fact, I think there are 2 better films.
Yeah.
But I think that's more or less it, really. So that's the rating. So, yeah, thank you for listening to this episode. It's a very long one again. I'm starting to have these episodes go longer. We've been recording for nearly an hour and 22 minutes at this point.
Dang.
So, yeah, thank you for listening.
Didn't beat my one.
It did not beat your one, but I have beaten your one. Oh, if I need to get an episode with you and Jack.
Brad is just a different breed.
Yeah. I need to get... Yeah, Brad is a... If I do
Yeah,
another
plays
one with
chess.
Brad, it's gonna go... So, it's gonna go forever.
For 3 hours plus.
Yeah.
Talk about Avengers Endgame.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so thank you. I need to get you... Ron, I need to get you on one with Jack, because then it would just be arguments for 2 hours.
Do it.
And he said he would...
do like a Disney movie as well?
Yeah, he would absolutely... He said he would like to do it as well, so it's not like he doesn't want... He wants to do it, and he would like to do an episode with you, and so I think that would just be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's all.
That would be a lot
thank
of
you
fun.
for listening, and, yeah, listen to any previous episodes if you haven't listened to them. And, yeah, I just say thanks, and bye. Can I say goodbye?
Bye. Bye.